What's up, guys? It's Nick from P2W Fantasy, and I have the other two members of P2W here with me today. I got Thor and Anthony. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's going on, man?
So this is our second podcast with the three of us all together at once, and I thought it would be interesting to have a podcast where we all talk about some fantasy questions, mostly brought through Twitter. So we put some questions out there and had some people comment some fantasy questions, whether it was dynasty, redraft, or what the case would be. But we got some good questions, a lot of different ones, and I thought we can just run through them. So, the big week for us. We had just from the main P2W account, we had Kenyon Drake give us the shout out. Some say, it was a paid for cameo, and some say that he's our boy. So we'll roll with the second one. And I even got DJ Moore to like the jersey yesterday. So I think just the brand's just up and coming or something like that. So big times. But let's start off with the first question. This was asked by @Ain'tDoneYet, which is Jacob Dunn. He's a guy I've actually interacted with a decent amount on Twitter so far. And his question is, who will reach wide receiver 1 status first, Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb? So 2 rookie wide receivers. He's asking who is going to finish in the top 10 first in their career. So Anthony, who's your pick on this?
I think both of you guys know who I'm going with here. My number 1 wide receiver rookie pre-draft and number 1 still post-draft is Jerry Jeudy. Guy's a freak athlete. I think he's actually in a good position year 1 with the Broncos. I think he steps in and he's their wide receiver 2 right away. And I think he is going to get a decent target share from year 1. So I'm going with Jeudy. Lamb, I think they're going to need to make some changes before he could get into the top 10. The talent's there for Lamb, but situation-wise, I think Judy's got a better shot to get to that chance earlier than Lamb does.
All right, so Anthony's got Jerry Jeudy. Who says you, Thor?
I mean, I'm a huge fan of both, but I guess I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. They're both in similar situations. They're both probably going to be. They are the number 2 wide receivers in their respective teams. Dak's probably the better quarterback, but Jerry Jeudy's got one thing that CeeDee Lamb doesn't have, and it's the route running ability and the ability to run the entire route tree like a professional. And I think CeeDee Lamb will get there. There's no doubt. I think he'll get there. But Jerry Jeudy has a route running right now, and that's what I'm going to go with. And he's going to be going against number 2 corners. He's not going to take the number 1 coverage. Courtland Sutton's proven in the league, and if I was a defensive coordinator, I'm taking him out with my number 1 DB. But then again, it's going to get you burned because Jeudy can run all the routes. But I'm going to pick Jeudy over Lamb to be wide receiver 1 first because of the route running ability.
There you go. So we got 2 Judys. I'll be a third on that. The 2 guys were drafted 15th with Jeudy and then 17th overall with Lamb. I'm with you, Thor. I kind of said that before the draft happened. I thought Jerry Jeudy's route running ability was what separated him from the rest of the class. And I think at the NFL level, when you have these professionals that have been in the league that are going to D you up, I think that is an excellent trait to have right away. I think quarterback situation, I'd rather have Dak Prescott probably throwing me the ball than the question mark with Drew Lock. But also when we look at competition and we see Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup on one side, and then we go to the other side and it's Courtland Sutton who did ball out. But I think the opportunities there more so with Jerry Jeudy. So with that one, I think we all say Jerry Jeudy, but I think we probably can all be in agreement that these 2 guys are going to be absolute monsters in the league. So
Absolutely. There's not much of a gap in between them.
I will agree with that too. So the next question is from a buddy of mine on Twitter, one of the first guys I linked up with through the account, but it's from @5widefootball. His question is, will Darren Waller be dynasty relevant, or is he a one-hit wonder in a crowded field now? So Thor, I'll let you go with this one first. Is he a one-hit wonder, or will he continue to be dynasty relevant?
I think he'll absolutely be dynasty relevant. And I mean, if you had him last year on your dynasty roster, and you got him for basically nothing, you got him for free, and you could sell right now and get a good return, or you can just hold and you got a good tight end one for the next few years at least. That offense isn't going anywhere. I mean, Henry Ruggs shows up, but there's not a ton of competition for targets there. And Waller was fantastic last year, so absolutely he's not dynasty relevant. I still have him in the top 10 dynasty tight ends. Absolutely, it's not like he's 37 years old. He's not young, but he ain't old either. So absolutely, he's dynasty relevant.
All right, what do you think, Anthony, about Waller?
I wouldn't say he's a one-hit wonder. I think he'll be relevant, but I'm kind of on the sell Waller train while you can. I think right now his value is going to be the highest it might ever be. That doesn't go to say I don't think he's going to be a terrible tight end, but coming off of that last season, he's got a lot of hype on him. He's younger. I think you could get a decent return for him now if you tried to. Next year, like Thor said, they added Ruggs. I think that does affect his target share a little bit. And also Derek Carr. I mean, I've been seeing videos. He looks pretty good in the offseason, but I'm not a big Derek Carr believer either. So that kind of plays into my decision a little bit on that. But I definitely think he'll be relevant. I don't think he's a one-hit wonder, but I wouldn't expect what he did last year to happen again next year.
Okay. All right. Fair enough there. Last year, he had 90 receptions. Second place on that team was Renfro with 49. So a large drop off from first to second. Led the team with 117 receptions. And second place, again, had 71. So I think there's going to be a shift in the way that offense operates now that they have other weapons. Obviously adding Ruggs, but also Edwards. Added Aguilar. I'm not sure what his role is going to be, but Tyrell Williams and Renfro are still going to be there. I think Waller still eats in that system, and I think the target share is going to be there. I just don't think that he's going to have that large of a gap between him and the next guy in the offense. So I think he will be very fantasy relevant. I'm going to go with Thor. I think he's going to be a top 10 guy, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that we're going to bank on having the same production as he did last season. So I think we're all on kind of similar pages with that. Maybe Anthony's a little lower than me and Thor. So our third question here from @DuBois_22. This is Kevin. His question is, will Nick Chubb be a top 5 running back in PPR leagues in 2020? So 2020 PPR, Nick Chubb, top 5, yes or no, Thor?
That hurt me at first. I was hoping someone else could take it.
Hey, we were talking about him today earlier too, so this is ironic. So
it is ironic. We can't sit here and guess what they're going to do with the time with the sharing of touches. We don't know. And if it's redraft, it's a different animal. You know Kareem Hunt's there and he's got tons of talent. But I would say I'm going yes just because of the talent alone. Yes. Give me the talent. I'm going to put him up in the top 5. He's a guy I'd gamble on. I'm gambling on him because he's got the talent, and if he gets the touches, he's absolutely going to be a top 5 guy. So you just got to hope for him getting his touches. I can't see Kareem Hunt taking too much, enough to aggravate you, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep him away from top 5. So I'm sticking with Chubb at top 5 running back this year.
All right, Thor's got Chubb, top 5, 2020. Anthony, what about you?
I would say absolutely not, in my opinion. Chubb, I like Thor said, I totally think the talent's there, but we can't ignore what happened when Kareem Hunt came back last year. Took away receptions, and then one thing that I really was thinking about with Nick Chubb a lot is his goal line touches. I think might be a big drop off next year. I remember watching one Browns game. I'm not entirely sure which game it was. Nick, you could probably help me out with this, but they ran the ball in the red zone like 5-6 times in a row with Nick Chubb, kept getting penalties, and he could not find the red zone. I think if he's not finding the red zone, then Kareem Hunt will. They're both very talented. I don't see top 5 production for Chubb, just based on the fact that Kareem Hunt's going to be there. So if Hunt's not there, it's a different story. But I'm saying because of Hunt, I could see Chubb being more around the 10 mark in terms of fantasy football for 2020.
All right. Well, I got a mix of some of the statements you guys had. Just looking at just stats real quick. Chubb, weeks 1 through 9 before Kareem Hunt, PPR league was RB6. And then from weeks 10 through 17 after Kareem Hunt was involved, he was RB15. Now, the positives are that they have a new head coach in Stefanski, and Stefanski ran the hell out of Dalvin Cook last season. So I think he recognizes who his number 1 running back is, and I think he is going to get him very, very involved right away. I think if the offense in general improves, it might set up Chubb for those red zone touches, like you said, Anthony. I know he wasn't super productive, but I just don't see Kareem Hunt being the red zone rusher. I think for a guy to be a top, let's say 3 to 5 running back, I think one of the main things that they need in their arsenal is the pass catching, and I think Kareem Hunt kind of takes that away. In my opinion, I think Nick Chubb is probably the 3rd most talented running back in the league. I'll throw a hot take and say that talent-wise, I'll take Nick Chubb as number 3. But I think he's just a little bit capped on his production for this season. I will still put him in the top 10 because, like Thor said, talent's going to outweigh, his situation and get him very productive. So I'm going to take him out of the top 5, but I still will say he's going to be a top 10. So I think we're all in the same sort of Thor's going to be the highest here. I think I'll probably be right after Thor, and then I think Anthony's the lowest just out of us 3 for 2020. But I don't think any of us are saying to get rid of Chubb or anything like that. So
Nice scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I traded Chubb to Thor in our league. So.
I'm a believer in Chubb. I really am, especially in dynasty formats.
Anthony traded me Chubb, and Nick traded me Josh Jacobs. I got them both.
That's true. That's true. Everybody's giving you all the dogs, man. I don't know. Yeah, the next question we got in here is from our buddy at Shotgun Fantasy. So Colin threw in a question. Colin has his own fantasy page, and he is in a dynasty league with all 3 of us, and then he's in a different dynasty league with Anthony and myself. So we get to give each other shit more often than not during the year. So with his question, this is a very interesting one, and I'll say it slow because it's a bigger question, but it says here, if a team is in a rebuild situation, and let's say your league has already completed its rookie draft, is it better to go after the 2020 rookies or sell for picks for the 2021 class? So SparkNote version, you're trying to rebuild. Should you go after the rookies in trades that just got picked up from your rookie drafts, or should you go for picks for 2021 class? Or is there a better route in your rebuild? So, Anthony, what's some suggestions with something like that?
It's actually a great question. It is kind of tough because I'm so high on the 2020 rookies. I think there's so many good players in this draft class. But in my opinion, if you're looking to rebuild and the draft has already gone by, I think you got to start to look for next year's draft. The reason behind that is, everybody's got rookie fever right now. I drafted a decent amount of rookies. Everybody drafted a decent amount of rookies, and we are all high on the guys that we drafted. So the prices on those rookies is going to be pretty high. Compared to 2021 picks, we're not talking about 2021 too much right now. There's I mean, guys that we know of for sure, but we're not as high on that draft class as we are on the rookies we just drafted. So I'm going to say the cheaper route would be to go for the 2021 guys, try to build up some picks, and it would be a lot cheaper. And that's just because rookie fever, 2020 rookies just got drafted. Everybody's high on their picks. So I think it'd be, I mean, we've already seen it in our leagues. It's going to be a pretty high price to get any of these rookies pulled away from their teams that drafted them.
All right, got it. So, Thor, you want to build on that a little bit, and what do you think?
No, I agree with Anthony. I mean, if you already drafted the rookies are going to be extremely expensive, and if you're rebuilding, you probably don't have the pieces to buy them right now, unless you have some older guys. If you have some older guys, you got to unload. You got to unload, and you gotta time it right. But it depends what you have. Like if you have a Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, he's useless. He's useless on your roster. So if you can get a fourth for him, take it. But it kind of goes. I kind of take it two ways. Yes, just with the question for the offseason, I am not buying rookies right now. There's no way. I am not buying the 2020 class. Too expensive. So if you can get 2021 picks, go for it. Or be patient. Wait till week 3 when, Dobbins doesn't have many carries and the owner's getting upset and he's getting freaked out and he could panic sell. I mean, there's a bunch of these guys that you can get for the cheap if you just be patient. Be patient, let the season play out, and then get your guys. So I would try to get a couple 21 picks with some guys that you're not really high on for the future, and then wait it out and wait for these guys for their value to drop because they will. It happened every single league I'm in. They're high on them. They're not getting their touches. They're not getting any reps. So the owners panic and they want to trade them, and then they buy them at that point in time, not in the off season. So buy 21 picks and then wait, and then buy the rookies that drop in value in midseason.
I like that. I didn't think about the patience factor and just waiting for guys to not really pan out in the first few weeks, like you said. I think an interesting thing would also, if you really are into this class, I would look at guys that are not going to give you production until later. That might be on the end of these guys' benches. So, like I wrote down a few, but like Chase Claypool might not play right away, right? He might not play until year 2. So, could you get him for the low right now? And then if you're really rebuilding and just wanting to hang on, could you do something like that? I think you could. A guy like Adam Troutman, Jared Cook's probably the starting tight end for, New Orleans. Could you get him a little bit lower and save him for the future? That's another one. I wrote down a bunch. DJ Dallas being a backup running back or a third string guy. Could he be the guy in the future? Maybe. So I think you can be patient, exactly what Thor said, and wait for some of these guys to underperform. And if you still have faith in them, go after them. I think you can go for these lower guys that are going to ride some guys' benches and just say, hey, I'll look to rebuild and I'll keep them on my bench just because I'm not looking to win or compete this year. Or you could do a mix of both of those and go for some trades for 2021. So I think your rebuild is going to be completely based off of your team needs and what your team looks like, how the league looks. So a lot of different options. But again, yeah, that's a great question by Colin right there. Next one I got from at dmendy02, and this is David Mendelson. So this is and if you haven't looked too far into the 2021 guys, we don't have to talk too deep into this, but his question is, will Jamar Chase be better than all of the wide receivers drafted in this year's class? So Jamar Chase, coming off of that championship team, LSU, he was the second wide receiver on that team in some aspects of the game. But, if you guys have any thoughts on Jamar Chase and what your outlook will be for him, I know we're looking down the road, but any thoughts on him? Either one of you guys can start this one off.
Yes. Yeah, I think he's going to be better than the guys in this draft. I do. And it might be a hot take. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it. Well, I guess I have because I watched a lot of tape on Joe Burrow, and whenever you watch a lot of tape and anybody in LSU, Jamar Chase jumps off. He jumps off the film, and I can't say film because it's mostly highlights. But when you see what this guy does, it's unbelievable, and he seems to be open all the time. Whenever there's a contested catch, he's making it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't have a comparison because I really don't know. All I know is that every time I watch Joe Burrow, I said I want Jamar Chase. I want him. I want him on my team. I think he's going to be a stud, and he's probably going to be the first receiver drafted next year. Might be hot takey, but I could bet on it right now.
All right, Anthony, what do you think of Chase?
Thor, I agree with you on him being. I think right now he's a clear-cut top wide receiver in the 2021 draft class. For me, I love the talent. You watch the guy play, he balls out. It's kind of hard for me to say he's going to be better than all of the rookies this year just because of how deep the rookie wide receiver class is. There could be a guy that is in the second round we don't talk too much about that goes crazy this year. You're thinking of guys like Michael Pittman, Denzel Mims. Like those are guys that like aren't super high talked about, but could be breakout guys right away on their teams. For me, it's really going to depend on landing spot. And if Chase is a very early round pick, maybe he's not in a great spot. Maybe he's not in a great situation. The talent's definitely there. I can't say he's going to be better than all the rookies from this class just because there's so many good wide receivers in this class. But talent is definitely there. If he lands in the right spot, I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
All right. I looked at just briefly last season comparing him and Justin Jefferson. So Jefferson led the team in receptions, 111. Second was Chase with 84. But the big eye-opener was Chase led the team in yards, 1,780 to Jefferson's 1,540. So Jefferson had a decent amount more receptions, but Chase still led the team in yards and touchdowns, 20 touchdowns to Jefferson's 18. So obviously this guy is like very, very talented. Pro Football Network was projecting, the rookie drafts for next year. It's way too early, but they had Etienne number 1 and they had Chase 2. So they were including running backs, wide receivers, all in the mix of that. I think this year in college will tell you clear cut if he will be or not, because when you look at guys in college, LSU was the best offense in the country, right? You have the best quarterback, who had the best quarterback season of all time, arguably, and you had Justin Jefferson, who was very good, obviously. Edwards-Helaire is on the Chiefs now. A lot of people look at him very highly. So that system of an offense, I think, was excellent. You have to make the catches. You have to get open. You got to hit the routes and all of that. So I'm not going to take anything away from him. But I want to see Chase now in this offense that just lost a lot of their key pieces. And I want to see, does he still ball out like crazy being the number 1 guy? Because to be honest, Jefferson was more targeted. But, Chase outperformed him in some other categories here. So I would say in the future, if we look at this past class and then Chase coming in, he could easily be a top 3 guy in that draft class, but it is a very deep class, and I think this college season is going to say it all. So I think we might all be talking about this at the end of the college season, saying, man, this guy is miles ahead of Judy and Lamb were, or we might just say he's going to be very good, but he's probably not as dynasty valuable. So it's going to be very interesting to look at him in a few months here. All right. Moving on to the next one, just to move through these, because we got a decent amount. At Zarita661, so it's Juan Zarita. His question, another good one, very interesting. How powerful, can't even talk here. How powerful is the handcuff since the COVID shit is not going away? This is a direct quote from him. ... How deep are the handcuff running backs going to be this year? So he's asking, do we need to draft these handcuffs sooner because of COVID? And how is that going to look because of the potential question marks that, comes along with the disease that could potentially affect some players? So, Anthony, I'll let you be the first one on this. What's your thoughts of the impact of COVID on handcuffs in drafting?
I definitely think with everything going on that the handcuffs could be valuable this year. I'm not going to, however, pay for most of the handcuffs right now. I think a lot of people kind of think that, oh, there's the coronavirus and everything, and a lot of guys are going to miss games. I should pay for their backups. Well, for example, Tony Pollard, Madison, those are in my mind some of the better handcuffs in the league. Those are guys who, like, if they start, could be valuable. But at the end of the day, especially in dynasty leagues, are these guys ever going to be a starting running back? We don't know the answer to that. I don't know if I'm going to be willing to pay a premium to get a backup running back. So, in my mind, they will be valuable this year, especially if some of these stars are missing games. But I'm not willing to pay for that price tag right now to get some of these top elite handcuffs, especially considering everything going on right now. Their prices are a little higher than I think they should be. So I'm staying away from the handcuffs right now. If you're able to grab one of these guys off waivers or something, I would definitely consider it. But I'm not going to trade away one of my starting players to get a handcuff right now.
All right. How about you, Thor? What do you think, especially when it comes to maybe you're drafting for this year to come?
If I'm drafting for this year to come, I'm not, like Anthony said, I'm not going to pay a premium for these backups. Obviously, there's a few more that are more valuable than all the others, like your Tony Pollard and your Madison. He nailed those two on the head. I would like to go for those guys, but I'm not going to draft some handcuffs when I could be drafting some, wide receiver 3 with a chance for some wide receiver 1 weeks, like, I don't know, Will Fuller, probably. I'd take a Will Fuller over a handcuff, a Deshaun Jackson over a handcuff. I would just wait till mid-season or whatever and just say, like, if you're doing the fab money, I definitely wouldn't, spend everything right away. I would definitely try and play that out because there could be a league winner in there, just like there is every year, but probably more so this year with COVID going on. Yeah. But I'm not going to change my draft strategy. I might change my waiver wire strategy a little bit, but I'm not going to change my draft strategy. I'll let the other guys spend premium on handcuffs, and then I'll let the other guys fall to me.
Got it. Yeah, I like the note about maybe changing what you're doing with that fab money. I think that's very smart in this aspect. But I'm with you guys. I think I'd rather have a lower end running back that's not being drafted super high. I mean, guys like Sony Michel is probably not going super high. Even a guy like Philip Lindsay's not the number one running back on the team, but he's still probably going to have some production. Tariq Cohen, Matt Breida. I'd even maybe take like Boston Scott, Duke Johnson before I'd take a guy that's never going to see the field. Like, for instance, Reggie Bonifan, I believe I said it right. I don't know if I'm going to take him. I have CMC in the league that you guys are in. I don't know if I would be worried about taking him or keeping another running back that might actually see the field, because at the end of the day, I mean, situational factors are different, but everybody has the same sort of chance, of catching something. And I don't think us as fantasy players can be nervous about our team and, having a starting lineup and then having our bench be, what happens if something happens to one of these guys. So I would rather take some lower end running backs that might actually give you some points during the weeks versus a guy that you may never play just because you're worried about, the coronavirus. So I think we're kind of all on similar pages with that.
Yeah, and going off of that too, there is you guys got to take into consideration too, like, if for whatever reason Christian McCaffrey ended up getting the coronavirus and everything. Do we really think that they're going to run with that backup there, or maybe they sign like a Devontae Freeman or something like that, who's just sitting there waiting for a team to pick him up? There's plenty of guys out there that don't have a team right now that could probably come in as well. So I would hate to buy one of those guys expecting them to come in and then something like that happens as well. So
Thor, did you have something too?
Yeah, we'll say if I got a nice handcuff on a dynasty roster, price is up right now. The price is probably higher than it's ever going to be for most guys, unless they get lucky and they get signed to a team. If I got a nice handcuff on a dynasty team, I'm selling them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one here. I like that last question. I think it's a thinker, but I think we're still on the same page. This one we might be able to fly through a little bit more. It's from @Devin Withers, and that's Devin Withers on Twitter. He asks, who is impacted more if Antonio Brown signs with Seattle? Is it Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf? So which guy is more impacted if AB comes to the team? If he's got the insider scoop on, Brown going to Seattle, then I'm a little interested, but I think he's just throwing that out as a hypothetical to maybe make us talk about Lockett versus Metcalf a little bit more. So we're not talking dynasty for this one, I don't think. I think we're talking about 2020. So Thor, what do you think about this one? Who would be more impacted?
I mean, I guess I got to go with probably Metcalf a little bit, with the plays downfield. Because I really don't know who does more underneath routes, but I think Tyler Lockett does more of he's a better route runner, so he can be open more underneath stuff, more over the middle stuff. DK Metcalf's more of the, down the field receiver, which is Antonio Brown. I could be totally wrong on this one. I really don't know. But I would just to think from a football standpoint, I'd probably say DK Metcalf is more affected by it.
All right. What about you, Anthony? You agree? You disagree?
No, I completely agree, Thor. Metcalf's a red zone target for sure. He's a deep threat. Antonio Brown comes to the team, he's going to take away red zone targets. He's going to take away deep targets. I think Lockett's more of he's just an all-around target guy. I mean, he's going to get yards. So I think Lockett, I think both guys might take a step back, but DK's step would be a little bit bigger. And I know a lot of people are hoping for a huge DK Metcalf season, but if that was to happen, I don't think Metcalf's going to have a breakout year just because target share is going to be a lot less for him. So definitely DK Metcalf would be a little bit more affected by that, in my opinion, just because of I think they run similar routes, and I think it hurts his red zone target share.
Good points by both of you guys. Looking at the difference last year, obviously Metcalf was a rookie, but Lockett had 110 targets for 82 receptions. Metcalf had 100 targets for 58 receptions. So Lockett was much more efficient on the team. Obviously, he's a little bit more of a vet. I'd say also DK Metcalf would be impacted. You guys already touched on the red zone targets. I think that's what makes Metcalf very dynasty in 2020 appealing, especially since in fantasy touchdowns equal points, and we love those touchdown points. So I think if AB came, he would probably take away some of that red zone production. I also think with Lockett being more efficient, I think that he will get a little bit more opportunities still in 2020. And then with AB coming in, he might take away that kind of padded 1A, 1B from Metcalf a little bit. But yeah, it's an interesting question. I think a lot of people are very hyped up on Metcalf. I think some people have Metcalf above Lockett in 2020. I personally don't. I do in Dynasty, but I don't in 2020. But if Antonio Brown's going to Seattle, that would be interesting. I think it would be interesting if he goes anywhere at this point, but we will see. Next one is courtesy of Thor's buddy. I think it's your work friend, right? Mikey Butler.
Yep.
And his question is, with Rivers now being on the Colts with an improved offensive line and some decent weapons, are we going to see the 2019 version, so 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions of Rivers, or the 2018, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions version of Phillip Rivers? So I think the question, plain and simple, is new team for Phillip Rivers, new offensive line, different weapons. What are we thinking about his production in 2020, Anthony? What kind of Phillip Rivers do we see?
I'm not a big Phillip Rivers fan. Personally, I think his only improvement going to the Colts is actually his pass protection. Weapons wise, they had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams for the Chargers. They had Hunter Henry. He had Melvin Gordon. He had Austin Eckler. I think his weapons were actually better on the Chargers than he currently has with the Colts. Definitely pass protection is going to help him. I'm leaning more towards him having the 2018 season. It's kind of difficult for me to say. I think his interceptions is probably lower than that 2018 season, but I don't see his touchdowns being much higher. So I think it's a little bit of a mix. Definitely not going to be close to his bigger season he had because, I mean, it's a learning curve. You're with a new team. You have less of a training camp, and definitely, I just don't see the weapons at the Colts being better than what he had with the Chargers. So I'm going to go with more of a 2018 season, maybe less interceptions, but around that touchdown mark.
All right, Thor, what do you say about his 2020 production?
2020 production, I think, is going to be a lot more efficient than he was in 2018. I can see his interceptions being down around the 12 mark because he is a gunslinger. I mean, this is what he is, a gunslinger, and he does try to fit some passes in some tight areas. But I still think he's going to be more efficient. They're going to be able to run the ball efficiently. They're going to be able to protect him. So just to shorten it up, I'll probably go with the 2019 season to answer the question. I think Phillip Rivers is going to be a very good QB2 for you to have. Like in Superflex leagues, I still wouldn't spend a premium on him, but he has that ability to have those games where he throws for 3 touchdowns and 350 yards. We can't ignore that. So I still like Rivers for this year. If it's redraft, absolutely. If it's Superflex, QB2 all day, and he's a good backup quarterback to have in 1 QB leagues, and you don't have to pay anything for him. You get him for free.
Yeah. All right. Well, I looked at PFF.com. They rated the offensive lines from this past year. The Chargers were 29th in the league for offensive lines, and the Colts were number 3. So obviously that's a massive difference. I think going off of what Thor said, he's going to be very efficient. I don't know if very efficient is going to equal great fantasy production because I think that they will have a decent run game because of the offensive line. I also think that they have a great defense, which doesn't get talked about enough. So great defense plus good offensive line might be, Rivers just managing the offense and not having to sling and come from behind in a lot of games, especially if they're in it. With the Chargers this past season, he probably had to throw downfield more than he wanted to. He probably is getting hit more than he wanted to. So I'm going to go with Thor. I'm going to say he's going to be more efficient on the field. I think his interceptions will go down because of the offensive line. I think the whole style of that offense is going to be, throw when needed. Let's run the ball. Let's game manage because our defense is going to back us up. So I think he'll have just like you're saying, Thor, like a fine, your second option at QB or your bench guy. He's probably very cheap in your league. Anthony, I think in your Dynasty League, we have small rosters, and he's on the waivers, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I think he's going to have a fine season. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that flashes and you're going to want to pick up, but I think he's going to be good for the Colts. And I think the Colts needed that sort of quarterback. Just talking about NFL related, not fantasy. So, good question there. Moving on. This guy's got a good at here. It's at Skinny Tony 15. Anthony T. DiStefano. What do you guys think Derrick Henry's value is for trades? He's talking about his own league now a little bit. The league is a dynasty full point PPR super flex with an extra flex spot. In return for Henry, I received Rieger and Cooper. Did I get beat? So he's in a full point PPR super flex with an extra flex spot. He received Rieger and Cooper in this league. This is a dynasty league for Derrick Henry. Or do you think he got the better end of the deal? Do you think he lost a deal? Do you think it's up in the air? What do you think about this?
You got Amari Cooper and Jalen Rieger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the wide receivers. PPR league. I'm taking the wide receivers. I think he made out well, actually. Obviously, he has great talent, but if I can get everyone's projecting Jalen Rieger to be a beast. I mean, if you could have two beast wide receivers versus one RB1, especially in a PPR league, you can pick up other running backs that might not be a starter, but catch a lot out of the backfield. You can replace Henry. Now, I'm not saying replace him, but you can survive without Henry because you have those two wide receivers to put in your lineup, one at wide receiver, one at flex. I'm taking that in a PPR league. If it was standard league, no, but PPR league, absolutely.
All right. What about you, Anthony? You in the same boat or disagree?
Yeah, no, I'm with Thor on that. I'm a little concerned about Henry for dynasty purposes just because of his workload. He had over 300 touches this year. His legs, I mean, that's a lot of work on them legs. He had a big workload in college too. And the big difference there is longevity. I think you got two wide receivers who wide receivers can play well into their 30s. So Cooper's a stud wide receiver one. I'm high on Rieger too. I think Rieger is going to be a good asset to have in a dynasty league, especially him being a rookie. He should be in the league a while. I think it's a clear win for me. I would have accepted it personally. Just based on me having a little bit of a concern with Henry's longevity. How long can he keep getting 300 plus touches? And both of those receivers, I think, are valuable receivers to have on a team.
I think it's a very dynasty move. I think if this guy is any sort of a contender in his league, I'm not taking the trade. So I'll probably actually disagree with you guys because I think – my concerns are with Rieger. We've seen reports. Is he going to step in and play right away? Is he going to learn from Deshaun Jackson? There's some concern with him in college. I think he should be lined up to be very good, and he could be a day one starter. But we don't know. We don't know. Is Amari Cooper, is Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb going to take away from Amari Cooper's ceiling? We don't know. I do know that Derrick Henry was an absolute monster last season. Would I trade him in a dynasty league? Yeah, absolutely. I would trade him because I don't know what his outlook's going to be in the next few years. I think if I'm selling Derrick Henry, I want a younger running back, and then I'll take one of these guys, one of these wide receivers. I think taking two wide receivers here, if his team needed some wide receiver depth or was lacking in that position. So let's say that, he had two running backs already and Derrick Henry was the one guy that he was comfortable trading. Then go with it. But I think if you want to win in 2020, if he's a contender, I'm probably not taking this because I have more questions about Rieger and Cooper than I probably do of Derrick Henry in redraft in 2020 over dynasty. So, me personally, again, I'd want a running back in the deal, but maybe he has a running back, so I really don't know. So I think you guys will agree. Good trade. I'm gonna say I don't know what his situation is, but if it was me, I probably would have asked for a little bit something different. But I'm not gonna say it was a bad trade for him to accept. We just have some different views here.
Quickly, Nick.
Yeah.
What running back would you add to Rieger for you to accept? Giving away Derrick Henry. What do you think is?
I would probably want. I probably want a younger guy that is in an established situation that's going to be in that situation for a handful of years to come. Like Derrick Henry, we don't know if he's going to even be a Titan in the future. Even a guy like maybe if it's Amari Cooper and like Devin Singletary, maybe that's a little bit better because I think Devin Singletary is going to be in that Buffalo Bills system for the next X amount of years. Even if Zach Moss cuts in, I still see it as, hey, I'm getting a younger running back who's going to be with this team for a while. So that's just one example off the top of my head. Would there be another guy you can think of, kind of similar situation?
It's tough when you're trading a running back. You want one in return because there's not many of those top end running backs. But honestly, if I was trading Derrick Henry, I probably would have approached your route and gone for a younger running back possibly. Yeah. And even if you had to add a little bit on your side, but Devin Singletary is a good one. Cooper and Singletary for Henry, especially in PPR. I like that.
Yeah. Who's to say though that he doesn't have McCaffrey,
exactly.
Singletary, and 6 other guys? Yeah.
You don't know his roster makeup. He might have Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders sitting on his roster.
Exactly. So Henry's probably, it could have been pennies to him. So
I saw what you did there, Thor.
And Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, here we go. I did. I'm trying to read the next question while I got these little bombs coming in over here.
Sorry, staring at my dynasty roster.
Yeah, we don't.
From ear to ear.
That's another conversation, man. We're gonna have to talk about all these trade offers that get bounced around in our leagues, or the lack of lately. We're the only guys that want to trade, and none of us probably should be trading each other right now.
No, we shouldn't be. We should not be. I cannot give you something to help beat me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, last one. Let's get through this last one. So this one's got a interesting name too. So we got at Snaggletooth G, and his name at Snaggletooth G. His name, he doesn't have his regular name. His regular name is, or his name listed on Twitter is Marlon Mack is still alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, good account. Yeah, he's a good account. I'm not knocking his name. I forgot who asked what questions, and I read this one, but he asks, and I think it's a good question. Why is Chris Carson criminally underrated in all formats? So I think he's looking at the way that Chris Carson's getting drafted, how he's getting valued. Why do you guys think he's underrated, and do you think he's underrated? And I will go with Anthony. You can be the first one on this one here.
Yeah. I just think he's underrated a little bit just because, I felt bad for him a little bit last season. He had all those fumbles, and Chris Carson's not a fumble guy. I want to say they said that he had 0 fumbles in college. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But they're just kind of giving up on him a little bit early just because I think that they like Rashad Penny a little bit as well. Penny was an earlier round draft pick. He has a lot of potential, but I think Seattle fans are just kind of hoping Penny's like an elite guy when Chris Carson's actually very efficient. He's going to get you yards. He's going to get you touchdowns. I'm perfectly fine with Chris Carson. I like Chris Carson. I think he's kind of a buy low kind of guy right now in fantasy leagues just because I feel like people are concerned about his future with Seattle. So I don't really understand the whole Chris Carson's not a good running back thing going on right now, because I do think that he's very good, actually. I think that if he protects the ball next year, I think they're going to be perfectly fine running with Chris Carson early downs and red zones. So unless Rashad Penny comes back from this ACL tear and is something we haven't seen in the league, I'm perfectly fine with Chris Carson, and I think he's going to be a good fantasy running back.
All right. What do you think, Thor? Underrated? Are they accurate? What's your outlook on Chris Carson?
Honestly, to keep it bland, I just think it's because he's not that. And this is not saying it in a physical way, but I'm saying he's not sexy. I mean, he's not. He wasn't. He wasn't drafted to be the stud. Penny was. Penny was drafted in the first round. He's not flashy. He's an old school bring your lunchbox to work kind of guy, and he goes to work.
I like that.
He doesn't make crazy splash plays or anything. He's a super solid player. There's just nothing that's sexy about him, you know. He doesn't really have an attitude like off the field, you know, coming from like Marshawn Lynch, who everyone loved because of the way he acted off the field. You know, Chris Carson he's soft spoken. The camera's really barely on him, and everything's on Russell Wilson. And like I said, they drafted Penny in the first round, so I think it just scares everybody. You know, he is the more talented back. That's why he gets all the carries and Penny doesn't. But I just think it's because he's not sexy. Like I said, he's the bring your lunchbox to work kind of guy, and he goes to work and collects his paycheck and goes home to his wife and kids. You know, there's nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing special because obviously he's special. He still has a starting job in the NFL, but I think that's why.
Yeah, I think for me, I think some people are a little bit salty because of last year he missed 3 games. I think it might have been closer to the end of the season, so it might have been the fantasy playoffs. Now he gets hurt this past year and has this hip injury that didn't sound too good. So I think some people might look at only a few games he's missed, but have this like default mentality to think like, oh man, this guy's getting banged up, and they got all these running backs. And the thing I hear most all the time is, you know, Rashad Penny, you know, was drafted early, and now they brought in Hyde, I believe, right? And they drafted DJ Dallas, and they got all these running backs to take his job. But to be honest, like I bought into the Penny thing before, but he doesn't push, you know, Carson out. I mean, he might take some touches away, but he hasn't pushed him out. I think if he's healthy, he's going to be the starter. This past season, weeks 1 through 16, RB 10, and then he missed 17. My concern would be the hip, I guess. Like I didn't look too much into it, but I know like just from experience as an athlete, your hip, you know, so many different movements are generated through your core and your hips at times. So if somebody said to me tomorrow that knows more than I do about stuff like that there's no concern, then I might be a little bit higher on Carson. But I'm with Thor, and I like the analogy. He's not like the guy that, you know, I need a Chris Carson jersey, and you know I want to make a case for Chris Carson today. I do think that people don't think about him enough. This past year, 5th in yards, 5th in attempts. He's very utilized. I think his touchdowns got to go up. He was 14th in that, but does his job. In the future, could somebody push him out? I don't know, but I think ADP wise, he is going a little bit undervalued. I wrote down a few names here, so I'm going to just ask you guys, 2020, let's say everybody's healthy. I'm going to give you two different scenarios. It's going to be Carson or this guy, and you guys tell me who you got. I thought it'd just be a fun thing to do. So 2020, who do you got? We'll go with you Thor first, then Anthony. Chris Carson or Bell? Just pick a name, no explanation.
Bell. Ooh.
Yeah.
Bell.
Hurt to come out. All right. He's got Bell, Anthony, Chris Carson, or Le'Veon Bell, 2020.
Oh, man. Bell. I would say Bell.
All right. So
this is what Adam Gase does.
Yeah. So we're just talking PPR points. Who would have more points? And I think I'll also take Bell on. It hurts me to say it too, but might be tight there. What about Thor, Chris Carson or Melvin Gordon, 2020 PPR points?
Melvin Gordon.
Anthony?
I'm going Carson here.
All right. I think I'm going to go Carson on this one too. Next one, I got 2 more. 2020, Chris Carson or Todd Gurley? Thor?
Gurley.
Anthony?
I think it's got to be Gurley, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gurley too. I was looking at some guys that are drafted similar. Last one, and I'm going to throw out one of your boys, Thor. 2020 PPR points, Chris Carson or Edwards-Helaire?
I got Helaire.
All right, Anthony?
Chris Carson. I'm going Chris Carson here.
All right. I might also go with Chris Carson on this one. But, yeah, so he asked like 5 different times on Twitter for some questions. We got 9 Twitter questions, and then we had one of Thor's buddy give us a question. So always think it's interesting to see what people are thinking and what they're asking. I thought some of these were pretty thought-provoking. We were on the same page with some of them. So I thought it was a good segment there. Just a quick recap of what we got going on. We're trying to at least get together once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks if it doesn't work out because we all have different schedules between the three of us here. Definitely be pumping out more podcasts come closer to the season more often, I would say. Pushing out articles. Me and Thor just had one that went out the other day. I myself have been hopping on a few podcasts, and I know Anthony and Thor have been pumping out some comments and content on Twitter, just interacting with people, which I think is key. Anthony, why don't you shout out what your Twitter handle is? I think it's right in front of you. But
right here we got Anthony at Anthony P2W. Give me a follow there.
All right. Yeah. How about you, Thor? It's right on the screen there.
Right there on the screen at FF Thor Mikey.
All right.
Give me a follow.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure you follow those guys. If you're following me, you should follow these guys too. They are part of the team. I'm at P2W Fantasy. We are for the main page. We are under 100 left to hit 2,000, so we're getting there. So that's big time. So, Thor and Anthony, thanks for hopping on. I think we can cut it there. Any last things you guys want to shout out or plug?
I'm not a Chris Carson hater. I know it seemed like it with me picking everybody else, but
all right.
I'm not a Chris Carson hater.
All right. So Thor's not a Chris Carson hater. Anthony, any final thoughts from this?
Nothing really. Nick Chubb won't be top 5 this year. I'm glad I traded him to Thor, so I think that was a win for me. So I think we're good on that, and it was a good segment here.
Yeah, and I'll just say don't draft those handcuffs too high. Take some lower end running backs. So I think we're good there. Thanks, guys, and that'll end the broadcast. Thanks for listening.